Adani Ports is knocking on the door of its all-time high. The monthly candle is up over 20%. A 4-month resistance has been broken, and there is a live earnings call catalyst on 10 days from now, that is on April 30th. So now we'll be looking at the fundamental and technical analysis and the GTT trade setup for this particular stock. Adani Ports is India's largest private port operator, but calling it a port company undersells it. This is a complete end-to-end logistics platform. 19 ports and terminals, 132 trains, over 20,000 trucks, and 12 multimodal logistic parks. It moves 28% of India's total cargo. That is more than one in every 4 tons moving through this country. Now, the trigger news. On April 1st, it was announced that it has crossed 500 million tons of annual cargo, a landmark milestone. The stock jumped 6.6% on that single day. Here is why that number is powerful. It took the company 16 years to reach the first 100 million tons. It is now adding the same volume in months. That is compounding scale in real time. On April 2nd, the NCLT approved the merger of Adani Harbour Services into this particular company, consolidating the marine business and tightening margins. And on April 30th, just 10 days away from now, the quarter 4 financial year 2026 results drop with an earnings con call. This is a live near term catalyst sitting right above us. So for the financial year 2025, we can see that the revenue increased to about 30,000 crore. Net profit also increased to 11,000 crore from just 8,000 crore. So fundamentally, it is a strong company. However, the debt to equity ratio is something that we need to keep a track of. So the financial year 2026 revenue, the projected revenue as per the management is around 36,000 to 38,000 crore. The long-term ambition for the company is 1 million tons of cargo being circulated, transported by 2030. However, there is certain amount of risk, that is elevated debt, Adani Group's regulatory overhang, global trade slowdowns, and these are real risks. But the structural story is genuinely strong for this particular company. Now, looking at the technical analysis, when we look at the monthly chart, there's 12 years history of this particular stock. The stock has gone from rupees 100 in 2014 to an all-time high of 1,620 in the mid 2024 region. Primary uptrend is intact. There are higher highs and higher lows throughout the decade that you can see. Now look at the company's monthly candle for this particular month. It opened at around 1,351 and it has already touched the 1,600 mark. That is plus 20% monthly candle. One of the strongest this stock has ever printed. The big picture is mostly bullish. Weekly, when you look at the weekly chart, and this is where the trade logic begins. After the all-time high correction, price recovered. After the all-time high correction, price recovered, but got rejected at the levels of 1,500 to 1,520. Consequently, over the period of 4 months from September to January, you can see that it was rejected in this particular region. Sellers stepped in and pushed price back down. This is a supply zone, a zone where sellers are clearly positioned. But now look at this week. Price has broken above that zone and is closing above it on 2.46 million volume, weekly volume, one of the biggest recent in one of the biggest in recent one. When a supply zone breaks on the high volume, it flips the character. So this particular 1,500 to 1,520, it has become a support from a resistance. This is called role reversal. Now when you look at the daily chart, the price has the price have fallen sharply from 1,560 in the month of November to 1,300 in the month of March. A capitulation of heavy volume, where you can see it was driven by a heavy volume, and then from there we see a V-shaped recovery where the stock has broken that previous resistance, which has now become a support. And now today the stock is trending around 1,005, above the range of 1,500. The ceiling that blocked the recovery attempt multiple times on the strongest bullish volume bar of the entire recovery phase. Price is up, volume is up. That is our breakout confirmation signal. And you look at the RSI, it is around 67.23, sitting in the 60 to 70 zone. There's a strong trend, not overbought. Above 70 would mean caution. We are not there yet. Momentum is confirming every single that the price is giving us. So now we'll be placing a GTT order based on the analysis that we have done. So we will be placing a buy order, and we will be entering at the level of 1625. So not at the current price, in order to ensure that the price is above the all-time high zone, and to ensure that there is actually a bullish trend. If the price does not reach that level, the trade will simply not be executed. But it is better to move with caution and ensure and trade with the confirmation that there is actual bullish trend. So created a GTT of for a buy at that level, and now I will be creating a OCO to set the stop loss and target price. So the stop loss for this particular stock would be 1490. The that is around below the weekly demand zone. Price can briefly dip into the 1500 zone and bounce back, but if it breaks that and goes further down, or there's a downward trend, then the thesis that there is a bullish trend has been failed. So we will have to accept that amount of loss. And the target price for this will be 1895. The risk per share would be per lot would be 135. So we placing 1895, and this is how we have created a GTT, and reward is around 135 for this thing, and the risk reward ratio is approximately 1:2. That is ideal for the swing trade or setup. So now we have set up the GTT. We do not have to look at the swing continuously, since the stock is already at its all-time high, near its all-time high. We don't know where the stock will go from here, depending on how positive the news is continuously over the next few days, especially since we have the April 30th earnings call to look out for. So this is a plausible trade. So please do your own research and trade safely. Thank you.